Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Human Resources in History. This podcast aims to offer insights from 7,000 years of human history to help modern human resource practices. I am your host, Makoto, a data scientist and journalist.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jin, your co-host. I am an HR professional and I love history.
All right, Jin. So this is our 13th episode, right?
Yes.
And which topic are we going to talk about today?
So this time we will change our style a little bit. Right. So in the last episodes, we have explored various historical events, right?
Yep.
But this time we're gonna talk about something a little bit more abstract.
Abstract, okay?
Yes. So we'll be discussing the skills required for historians.
What do you mean by skills for historians?
In a way, being a historian it's a job role, right?
Oh, historian as a job. Yeah.
So that means we can analyze this job and create a list of skills that are required for it.
Okay.
You know, like we saw in the last several previous episodes. And then we have explored the concept of skills-based talent management.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to use that knowledge we gain from the last several episodes. And then we will apply those principles in real life. So we're going to create a list of skills. It's like a practice session.
Okay. So we're going to pick up a historian as an example.
Yes. So at the end of this session, and you and I will have developed our skills as an HR, which is to identify skills for certain job roles.
Mm-hmm.
So you can say that, I know how to do skills-based talent management.
Oh, okay.
Right?
That'll be
This
interesting.
is the goal of this episode.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, in this episode, we'll begin by providing a clear definition of the term historian because the word is very broad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we need to narrow down the definition. And then we will share several principles that helps you in creating a comprehensive list of skills, right?
Okay.
So some like tips. And then finally, we're going to create a list of skills specifically tailored for historians.
Mm-hmm.
Are you excited?
Oh, it's very exciting.
Great.
Yeah. But what will be skills for historians? For me, it's easier to imagine, like, for example, what archaeologists' job would look like, like excavating, examining the historical objects and stuff. But I can't really imagine historians, like maybe, I don't know, like reading books and doing research.
Yeah, sure. Well, archaeologists, it's not their jobs are definitely not far from historians. And also, like, reading books is an important part of the historians' jobs, right? So, but yeah, that said, as we learned in our previous episodes, the specific skills required can vary depending on the context. So, right, because historians is as I said earlier, the word is very
vague,
like broad, and vague, right? So we need to clarify the context.
Okay.
So let's define what I meant by historians.
Who are they?
Yeah. So who do you think they are?
That's the question I had, right?
Yeah, but just wanted to know what, like, when we say historian, who you think about?
Well, Herodotus. Well, of course, he's famous because he wrote a book, right? Mm-hmm. And I think so based on that, I think historians are people who write books about history.
Yeah. Definitely. But also, it can include like history teachers, right? And also museum curators.
Oh,
and
really?
Also advisory experts.
Okay, so history teachers or museum curators, also under a broader job category of historians. I didn't know about it.
I mean, it's really depends on the definition. So like history teachers have to know history, and then they need to do research, and then they need to communicate about history, right? So according to Wikipedia, historian is a person who studies and writes about the past and is regarded as an authority on it.
That's also a very vague, broad definition, but
This
we're getting it.
and advisory experts or history teachers can be included in this definition. So, as you said, it's still we are very, the definition is vague. So for the purpose of our discussion, let's imagine a university professor specializing in Renaissance art studies.
Okay.
Well, of course, it doesn't have to be Renaissance art studies, but I like Renaissance art, so I just picked up Renaissance art studies. So now we have a very, much clearer view on it, right? So let's say her work involves various activities like teaching history, of course, as a professor, and providing expertise for documentary films. When you watch some history documentaries, and they often receive expert advice, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, and then, the university professor can be a good candidate for that.
Oh, this is very valuable, because it levels up the quality of the movies. I remember, my wife, she's a huge fan of Lord of the Rings, and she watches them at least 20 times a year. But she always tells me that the crews who made the Lord of the Rings series, they worked together with the historians specialized in clothings in the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
And details in their costumes are so precise and
right.
And well reproduced in the Middle Ages style. And I think they eventually got the Academy Award in the Best Costume section.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's the point of the value of like advisory experts. And also I really enjoyed the TV series Vikings, right?
Oh.
Yeah, so they also they have a very meticulous attention to the costumes, right?
Yeah,
my wife loves it too. Like I see her excitement now. She's we loved it. The details. Yeah. So if you become a historian and you can do this kind of job, right? It's gonna be fun. Yeah. But
is it your dream job?
I don't know if I'm good at giving advice on fashion.
But you have experience in fashion industry.
I worked in the fashion industry, but and
modern fashion.
I'm working in beauty, right? So people may think that I'm really, into fashion and beauty, but to be honest, I'm far from it because now I'm doing HR for IT department in the beauty industry. So of course I know some business and business models, but I don't do makeup myself. I wouldn't call myself expert in beauty or fashion. Yeah. Or maybe the organizational and how people conducted meetings, right? Like how kings facilitate, or I don't know, chief of staff to kings facilitate the discussion or something like that, right?
Yeah. Do you consider this project, human resources in history, as a broader category of historian, doing this podcast or writing a blog?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I think so.
Of course.
It fits in the definition, right?
Yes, exactly. I mean, I see myself a historian in a way.
Yeah. Okay. You are a historian already. Nice.
Yeah, because, according to Wikipedia, a historian is a person who studies and writes about the past. This is exactly us. And is regarded as an authority on it. Probably not yet, but we are to be historian.
Okay. Yeah. Historian in making.
Yeah.
All right.
So, to simplify our discussion, we got to focus on one important aspect of historians or university professor specializing in Renaissance art studies, her work, which is publishing academic papers.
Yeah.
Right. So, as you know, academic papers are very important in advancing knowledge and offering new perspectives that contribute to humanity's progress. So this is the definition of historian in this podcast, right? So I think now we have a very clear view. And let's imagine that you are an HR manager responsible for the skills development of university professors, right?
Huh.
So, probably such a specific job probably doesn't exist, but you'll be very excited if it exists, right?
That sounds like that is your dream job, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like HR in academic field must be very, very fun for sure. But anyway, yeah. So what we're gonna do in this episode, which is more, it's like a practice session. We are on HR,
Sure.
and then we help create a list of skills for historians or university professor.
Okay, yeah, sounds good.
Right. So, but before we create the list, as I said earlier, we're gonna review some key principles that we can keep in mind. In a way, we're gonna provide you some tips to identify a useful list of skills. Right. So I've identified 3 principles. Firstly, understanding the value creation process is essential. Right. So you need to know how the value is created, because skills should eventually contribute to the final value for your end users, right? Yeah, and then if you do like a data analytics, the final value is to give insights to your business, right? And then if your skill does not lead to it, and that skill is meaningless, right? So in a way, we need to think backwards from the end value, and then we need to create the list of skills, right? So let's decode historians' work. So in simple terms, historians provide new perspectives to humanity based on history, right? Simply put, of course, it depends on the context. It might be not exactly the same, but let's say university professor, when they publish academic papers, they want to provide new perspectives, right? And to achieve this, historians input knowledge first, process information through analysis and structuring second, and output their findings through writing and presenting. So input, process, and output. It's like computer science or engineering.
That's the value creation process.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's the first principle, that you need to understand the value creation process.
Okay.
And secondly, it's important to understand the landscape of the job, right? So the environment that surrounds the job. The job market is constantly evolving, and then also it's influenced by emerging trends and technological advancements. So you need to be aware of that. And you have to to stay relevant and competitive, and then to do that, it requires an understanding of these changes, right? So let's consider technological advancements as an example.
Sure.
Handling digital archives and databases has become a crucial skill for historians because of the internet, right? So it's been like that in the past 2 or 3 decades. But additionally, especially in the last few years, leveraging artificial intelligence is becoming increasingly important, right? In pushing historical studies to the new height.
Okay.
So AI can assist, for example, the Renaissance art history professor, our persona, in tasks like transcribing handwritten documents, right? Because with the AI, we can easily make the image into text, right? So you don't have to read it and then write by yourself, which requires a lot of time and effort and energy. But AI can do that, right? And also AI can help us, or help university professor, identify subjects and dates of paintings, right? Because AI can analyze physical images, and even uncovering hidden stories between historical events. That's also possible with AI.
Oh, I don't know how to do that though.
Well, it's probably like a generative AI, right? Using large language model. So of course, I'm not a university professor, so I have never used generative AI for this purpose. But basically, you ask to ChatGPT or whatever large language model that to provide two different historical events, and ask the ChatGPT to come up with the relationship between these two.
Right. Okay. Maybe you can ask the model to depict the like an abstract the abstract relationship of the people between these two historical events, and see the common elements, or
or like to ask ChatGPT to feed huge text, and then like two different books, right? And then ask them to come up with as you said, like abstract connection.
This second part, it's a really interesting part for me. As you said, the landscape is constantly changing, right? The skills required at the time of Herodotus and the skills required nowadays, it's so different. And especially the digital part, I think probably nowadays historians need to be able to code, managing, querying some data from the database. And I also recently read some news about AI model transcribing handwritten documents in the ancient scrolls, but this scrolls is curled up so tightly, and it's also how do you say, it's carbonized already. It's like a black chunk of like a charcoal, and you can't open it, you can't really read it, but these guys scanned it with a CT, and then I think processed with the computer vision. I'm not sure if the historians need to be able to do this kind of thing, but they should be able to understand the technology behind it. And
exactly. They should be at least able to work with those experts, right? If they have no idea, then they cannot ask what to do, right? Like, for example, if as a result of the computer vision processing, let's say they identified some letters in the script, but it's an ancient letter, so they don't know if this means anything. And then the historian can jump in and say, oh, this means this alphabet or something like that. And exactly.
Yeah.
So actually the analyzing and decoding ancient characters is one of the hot fields in history using technology. So let's say one example is Indus, the characters that were used in Indus Valley civilization. It has not been decoded yet.
Oh.
Right? So if you can analyze it, if you can interpret, it's gonna be like a huge achievement. Right? So I heard that many people are trying to understand it using AI technology. But the problem here is that there are not a lot of like evidence, right? So the using AI, we need data, like enough amount of data. So
definitely,
in this characters, we don't have a lot of data, so that makes this analyzing process a little bit more difficult compared to other ancient languages, like oracle-born languages in China, or like hieroglyphs in Egypt.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
But at some point in the future, it might be possible. So I'm really looking forward to that day.
Okay. So, that's a very interesting field of study.
Yes. And so I've talked about the two principles, right? Out of three. So the last one is the skills library, or the list of skill set required for a certain job should be transferable. I don't know if you remember the previous episode, but the skills library should be transferable, because skills become like a currency. It should not be too specific to one type of job. Right. So let's take the Chinese imperial exam system as an example. So the officials who was in charge of the exam designed it in a way that allowed officials to move to different roles based on fundamental skills such as Confucian knowledge, right? Because which is tested through the examination. Because Confucian knowledge is useful and transferable across roles in the Chinese government, right?
Yeah.
If the skill is very, very specific to one role, it's very difficult to move the person to another job, right? So that is why the skills library or the individual skill items should be transferable. So let's use a modern day example. A marketing manager with strong analytical skills could transition to a data analyst role relatively easily. This only becomes possible when companies implement skills-based talent management, which recognizes the value of transferable skills. So, for example, if marketing manager, we create a list of skills, and one skills is like understand the consumer product, and the sense of beauty or blah blah blah. So this skill is not really transferable, right? Of course, if it's very, very fundamental skills, maybe we should add it to the skills library. But it's, as an HR, we need to do an effort to make the skills library transferable so that skills become a currency with which the employees can move across roles, which eventually contribute to active organization and more agile organization in a dynamic environment.
Not all the skills are transferable, right? Like, for example, the skills you said about the marketing manager, it's not transferable to the data analyst role, but it will be a transferable skill for different roles within the marketing division where the domain knowledge is still very valuable.
Well, the thing is, domain knowledge is not really transferable across functions, right? Or across industry, I would say.
Across industry, no.
Yeah, but marketing manager, this is the thing. Moving marketing manager to another marketing role is easy, right? But what skills-based talent management wants to realize is to move people across functions, regardless of their knowledge, because the skills become the intermediary, or I call it currency. The currency, you can use the currency to buy the bread, but also you can buy you can pay tuition fee, or you can buy laptop, right? So that means that we need to focus on transferable skills that marketing manager possess, like data analytics skills, communication skills, management skills. There are a lot of transferable skills, right?
Yeah.
So if the list of skills of marketing manager is very, very specific to that job, it's very difficult to use the skills to move the person to another type of job, right? So for example, historian, if the list of required skills for historians is, let's say, knowledge about Renaissance art, or knowledge about Han Dynasty in China, and then how the officials blah 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 blah. So this is too specific to the historian. But this is not what I meant. What we're gonna do later is to list up skills that are transferable, right? So I'm gonna explain more in detail later. But one of the skills required for historian is analytical skills, right? So these skills can be used across functions.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is what I meant, and I can't emphasize enough.
Okay.
So by keeping these principles in mind, now we can create a comprehensive list of skills that are relevant, adaptable, and valuable for historians.
Sure.
Yeah. So all right. So let's let me explain. So I've identified 6 categories of skills that are relevant for historians. And within each category, of 6 categories, I have also identified several sub-skills.
Okay.
So first, let me explain each category. Yeah. So the first skill is historical knowledge. It's obvious, right? It's important to have a solid understanding of history. You have to be knowledgeable. If you don't know what Roman Empire is, well, you have no credibility as a historian, right? So that's the first one. And the second one, you need research skills. And not just having knowledge, but it's also important to conduct research properly. I will explain later.
Okay.
Thirdly, you need analytical skills, as I mentioned earlier, to analyze historical events and text and more. The fourth skill is writing and communication skills. So you know things, you have done your research, you analyzed it, but if you're very bad at presenting, nobody understands what you're talking about, right? So you should be able to effectively communicate the importance of your research and explain your findings. The fifth skills is technology skills. As I mentioned earlier, using technology can help historians conduct research more efficiently. And lastly, you need professional and ethical skills. It's very important because making up a historical fact and then having it believed by everyone can have a very, very bad impact on humanity. Right. So really, you have to have integrity and honesty and sincerity as a historian. So I call this as a skill.
Ethical skills. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So then let me explain. I don't know how. Do you have time?
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, let me explain sub skills for each skills. So I said historical knowledge, right? That you have to be knowledgeable. But I identified 3 sub skills. We can have more than that, more than 3. But let me share with you these 3 sub skills I've identified. First one is contextual understanding. So that is the ability to place events within their broader historical context, considering cultural, social, political, and economic factors. So it's like really understand the context, right?
Yeah.
And also chronological awareness. It's a strong understanding of timelines and the sequence of events.
That's important.
Yeah, which helps in understanding cause and effect relationships in history. And then the third one is thematic specialization. So, this is expertise in specific historical themes, periods, or geographical areas. This allows for more nuanced understanding of historical patterns and developments, right? So it's a specific skills, a knowledge.
Yeah, like for example, specialize in the Middle Ages period.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is a historical knowledge. But I'm not gonna explain everything for 6 categories because it probably takes more than the time we have. Well, the second one, research skills, is very important. So let me
let's go.
So research skills, there are 3 skills I've identified. The first one is source identification. Right? So you have to have a proficiency as a university professor or historian in locating primary and secondary sources relevant to research topics. And the second sub-skill is critical evaluation, which is an ability to assess the credibility, perspective, and context of historical sources.
Yeah.
And then also the last one is archival research. This is skills in navigating physical and digital archives,
including digital ones.
Yeah. So that's research skills.
Okay.
But yeah, let me skip analytical skills and writing and communication skills. And I said professional and ethical skills, right? And sub skills is ethical research practices, which is commitment to maintaining integrity in historical inquiry and respect for source material.
Okay.
this is very, very important, especially when you have an authority. People will trust you. And then you have to be very ethical. And also, under professional and ethical skills, I identify these skills, which is project management.
Oh, right? Really? When is it useful as a historian?
When you write a paper, what you need is like you firstly identify, let me use the word from project management. You need to do create the work breakdown structures. You need to identify each task, right? Because publishing paper is not just like writing. You need to read books, and then you need to also like buy books. Maybe you need to write, and you need to analyze, and also you need to book the a conference room or many things. Or maybe you need to book a hotel if you need to go attend a conference or something like that. So project management is actually very, very important for historians.
Those kind of like administrative skills.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but not administrative skills as well, but also like planning. Make a planning to do for your research, right? Yeah.
Okay.
And also because you have a limited fundings as well, so you can't just use every single all the money into buying books, right?
Yeah. So you said you listed 6 big skills, right? I was going to do the check which one I can tick because I want to be a historian, right?
Okay.
First one, historical knowledge. No, I cannot. I don't have this skill. And then
I think you know some.
I'm not sure. I mean, you do, right? But
well, I would never say I know, but I'm learning.
Okay. Number 2, research skills. This one, I think I can do that because I use a lot of research skills in my current job. Like for example, implementing the very cutting edge language model technologies to my job, and then I need to do a research. I need to read the paper. I need to identify which part of the paper is the most relevant to my job, and this kind of research skills. I think I want to believe that I have it. And number 3, analytical skills. I think I do. Otherwise,
it's your job.
Yeah. Number 4, writing and communication skills. This is something that I'm quite confident about because of my previous experience as a journalist. So I think I have this skill. Technology skills. I'm pretty confident that I have it. Professional and ethical skills. I want to ask you, Jin, do I have this?
I believe so.
Have you observed anything?
No, of course. You have first project management skills as well, but also in terms of ethical mindset and skills. We work in almost 1 year together on this topic project, but you always demonstrated some certain level of integrity when it comes to like referring sources, and then you really try to make sure if what we are saying is correct or not, right?
I'm glad that you said it. Otherwise, it would damage our reputation while we are doing this podcast.
But to be honest, but at the same time, we also have to admit that we are on still like learning process. Of all these, and then I'm sure we will never end at any point. But I see myself as a historian in a way, if I may be so bold, because we do this podcast, we do this blog, and then we have listeners and readers, and I don't want to provide any false information or like meaningless or useless insight, right? So so and then I reflect on my skills and performance based on these 6 skills. So that's what I what I think when when I write blogs
Mm-hmm.
and podcast script.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, now I feel like I can be a historian as well.
Yeah, we can say that. And
Yeah.
probably like professional historian, like they may not be happy, but we have to be proud of what we are doing. We don't have to feel that what we are doing is not great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, we should develop skills as a historian to make this podcast and blog
Yeah.
more interesting.
Right.
And then it's a really fun project. So let's continue. And then yeah, I was going to say, this time we're running out of time, so we kind of skipped detailed sub skills under several skills as a historian. But then I think they are listed in our blog post.
Yeah.
Right. So if you have time, we would recommend you to check our blog post, which was published 1 week ago. And then we are probably coming close to the end of this podcast, right?
Yes.
So today we talked about skills for historians. And if you're a fan of a history, then please consider developing some of the skills we mentioned today, and we can be friends.
But also you can think about your own the skill set as a historian. These 6 categories is just I've identified, right? So you may want to remove some, or you may want to add. That's up to you. You have your own path to become a historian.
The whole concept of today's episode was to pick up historian as an example, and then to practice how to create the skills list.
We can use this methodology to any kind of job. Yeah, even like the chef or gardener or police, whatever, any kind of job. Really.
All right. By the way, what are we going to talk about in the next episode?
Right. So starting from our next episode, we will talk about the topic of succession planning.
That's also interesting.
Yes. So this involves like preparing for future leadership positions. And there are a lot of valuable insights we can draw from history. So, for example, we're gonna talk about the case of Alexander the Great, and then discuss whether he effectively implemented succession planning or not. Do you think he did succession planning well? What do you think?
I don't think so, because who succeeded him?
Wait. Do you really think he didn't do well?
I mean, he was a great person, very charismatic, but I don't think he was successful in choosing the next person to continue the kingdom, no?
Well, we're going to talk about that next time.
All right.
So if you are interested, please don't forget to listen to our next episode.
Right. Looking forward to it. Well, please don't miss our next episode. Also, please visit our blog to learn more about the skills libraries. See you next time.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening, and see you next time. Bye-bye.